going, Ian?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm not sure how many. So 21 confirmed total people. Yeah, we'll see how many hop in over the next hour. But yeah, thanks so much for hopping in.
Cool.
Hey, Robert, how's it going?
Hello.
Hey, Connie.
Hi.
Got a bunch of people hopping in.
Good.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. We got Marco hopping in too.
There's
Hi,
Marco.
Marco.
Hey, Marco.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going? It's glad to have you here. Thanks for sending over that article this morning. That was really interesting.
Well, I thought of you as soon as I read it.
Yeah, no, it's well, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a good thing. So, just so I think Robert, Connie, Marco, I think you're at least familiar with each other. The other person on this call right now is Jesse. He actually owns another company like mine, but he actually does SEO for immigration law firms, which is just something we don't provide. So he's really, really good at it. So also niche specific, which is I'll give a chance to introduce them. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Ian, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. So everybody, this is Jeff. Jeff, who's on the screen now, is Marco, Robert, Connie, then Jesse up here. He's actually not an immigration lawyer. He owns an SEO company for immigration firms. Yeah, it's 21 people confirmed for this. I got no idea how many are going to show up. So figured one thing we'll kind of start doing is I know some of you know each other to varying degrees. But if you wanted to kind of start, I know Jeff here, kind of at the bottom corner of the screen. If you just kind of want to start by saying what business you own, how long you've been in immigration, just kind of introduce yourself a bit, and then usually the conversation kind of goes from there.
Yeah, sure. So I practice in Northern California. I do a lot of removal defense, family petitions. I've had my own practice since 2010, and a few years ago I started a nonprofit called Mobile Pathways, and we focus on building technology for small immigration firms and for nonprofits. And so we recently built some new things there, and we could talk about that later at some point. But so both of those things are my passion: immigration and technology.
Yeah, Jeff actually built a system that makes it in one dashboard where you can see all the detainees you're working with are located, right, Jeff? It was something kind of along those lines.
Yeah, we have things. We have various tools. That's one of them. We also have one for if people practice removal defense, to see all your cases in one dashboard. Same thing with with USCIS cases and their statuses and things like that. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, for everybody hopping in now, we're just kind of going around the room doing an introduction. So I know some of you met each other before, and or may know each other outside of this as well. So I'm just kind of calling on people. So Robert Brown, if you want to introduce yourself quickly, where you're at, where you practice, what's kind of your history in immigration, because he used to be a UN diplomat. You have a really interesting story.
Yeah, immigration attorney off and on since, when was that, 1997? And more recently, the past 3 years consistently, practicing business immigration. And I'm located really remotely up in Yosemite, next to Yosemite National Park in the Sierras.
Yeah, it's a great place. It's beautiful up there. All right, Jesse, you're next. Yeah, Jesse Heredia. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yes, Heredia. How's it going, guys? Thanks for the invite, Ian, first of all. Great to connect with you guys. So my name is Jesse Heredia. I'm originally from New York, but I lived most of my life in South America, in Ecuador. And I've been doing digital marketing, SEO, especially for the past 5 years or so on my own. And I decided to focus on immigration law firms primarily because I've been through it with my family twice already. 10 years ago, when I got married, decided to come back to the States. So I had to go through the process for my wife. And I'm now currently going through it again for my parents. So on both occasions, I kind of saw certain gaps of information and things about finding someone that I can trust. So I decided, this is something I really care about. I'm going to focus on helping this industry. So that's kind of where I'm at. Nice to know everyone. And thanks for the invite again.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. All right, Connie Kaplan, looks like you're up next.
Hi, guys. Since it's all guys right now, except me. Hey.
Yeah, well, we invited some women, but yeah, you shut up. So thank you.
Good. So I know most of you here now, but I'm in Fort Lauderdale. All I do is immigration, but I focus really on family and investment based. Majority of my market is LGBT, not because I necessarily target them, but that's who I get. Julio, I see your TikToks all the time. You're doing pretty good, man.
I'm sorry about it.
No, you're doing good. It's good. And I like the painting behind Robert, but he decides to just show up the icon right now instead of his whole thing, so you can see the painting. But that was very
I'm
nice.
here.
Oh, there you go. See, I like that painting behind you. So one day you're gonna tell us.
Well, I had a debate about that. My daughter and other people, and then some anonymous woman said I might want to take it down. It might be offensive, but
it's art. If art offends people, whatever. Anyway, don't get me.
I brought it all the way from Bali when I was in Bali years ago. So I have everything from around the world. So excuse me if it offends anyone.
Well, I like art. So art is subjective and it doesn't offend me. So you guys have no say in it. So there.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right, amazing. Yeah, glad to have you in here, Connie. So yeah, Julio, looks like you're up next.
All right. So I'm Julio from Argentina. I'm currently in Buenos Aires right now, waiting to come back to Los Angeles, where we have a law firm with Franco, who is there as well. We met at UCLA, studying there. I've been a lawyer for around 14 years now. I practiced in Argentina many years, worked for the judiciary here, also at National Congress. And then, well, when I traveled to study in the US, I met Franco, and we created this law firm. We do business and immigration law, so we do mostly anything within immigration. And well, I know a few faces here, so I'm very happy to be part of this. Thank you also, Ian, for creating this.
Yeah, that's these are fun to have. So I believe, Gustavo, Dr. Benajam, you're next. Yeah, if you want to, you're actually you're a psychologist, so he actually does immigration psych evaluations. If anybody has any VAWA cases or needs help with that in the state of Florida, feel free to hit him up. But if you want to introduce yourself, I'd love to hear it.
Thanks for having me, Ian, and glad to meet all of you. I'm a psychologist. I do a lot of immigration evaluations, VAWA, hardship, asylum, and for N648s, I'm shying away from those as much as I can because it's become quite tricky. I have offices in Boca Raton and Miami, but of course now I'm doing everything remote, which works extremely well. So, so I've been doing that for a while, and it's very satisfying because you feel it's not just a job you like, but you also feel there's a mission behind it of helping people to achieve their American dream. So nice meeting all of you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely happy to have you. So Jeff, looks like you're next on the screen, but more people joined since then. So we'll let Marco go next. So Marco actually owns Visa Business Plans, worked with them for a while. So he actually does a lot of the business plans for, business, investment visas and everything. Really, really good at it. So if anybody needs help with that, feel free to hit him up. Yeah, Marco, if you want to introduce yourself, I'd love to hear a bit about you.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Ian, for having me today, for inviting me today. And yes, I am the founder and CEO of Visa Business Plans. Look, some of my background is I've been an entrepreneur and business owner for 35 years. So I've grown, scaled, sold, succeeded, and failed in business over the last 35 years. And back in 2009, I launched my company, and now we basically, we do more than just write business plans. Our mindset is a couple of things: helping attorneys win cases, and attention to detail. That is something that is very dear to us, process and final product. I've known some of the attorneys in the room today. Hi, Connie, good to see you. And likewise with other attorneys. Thank you again, Ian.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, next up, we got Franco de Gerolimo, who's he's actually Julio's partner in DGO Legal. But if you want to introduce yourself, Franco.
At moment, apparently.
Yeah. Well,
you're muted, Franco.
Hi guys, Gianfranco, I'm Julio's partner. You already partly introduced me. I'm originally from Italy. I've been in the US for 10 years now. and based in Los Angeles. And I used to work with the DOJ before opening my practice as an attorney advisor with the immigration courts. And then I studied on my own about 3 years ago, and then I partnered up with Julio. So that's it for me.
Yeah, no, happy to have you here. And then next up, we got Paul Monson from Journey Business Plans. So yeah, Journey Business Plans did a great job making a pitch deck for me. So I can say, just firsthand being the client, they do a great job. And then, I can, similar to Marco, they do service kind of that area of immigration. But yeah, Paul, if you want to introduce yourself, kind of tell us a bit about your story, we'd love to hear it.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for the invitation. Nice to see you, everyone. So yes, we created a Journey Business Plan in 2013, focusing primarily on immigration business plans. So all those famous E2, L1A, EB5, and so on, these applications. We also do bank loan business plans, market studies. We help entrepreneurs raising funds, and that's what we do every day. We also do business immigration in Canada. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no problem. It's great to have you. So next up, we have Rebecca Johnson. So Rebecca and I actually role play sales at 8:30 every single morning just to start off the day. And actually, it's been really helpful, I think, for the growth of my business and hers as well. If you guys aren't doing sales role play on a daily basis in your organization, it's, I think, what Rebecca, I think we both we've massively grown our businesses just from these 15-minute, role plays we do every morning. And she also sells custom clothing, if you guys need suits or want to look good. But if you want to introduce yourself, Rebecca. So it looks like you're muted.
Welcome, everybody. I just read for Read Across America, I just read Dr. Seuss to my niece's 3rd grade class, and those kids muted and unmuted like pros. As Ian said, I represent a custom clothing line. We do everything from swim trunks to tuxedos. So like Ian, I'm an outsource provider for busy entrepreneurs and attorneys. Nice to meet you all.
No, yeah, absolutely. Then, Rebecca, if you want to post your, put your website, and I think Jesse, you too, if you guys want to put your websites in the comments, that way if people want to get a hold of you or anybody, if anybody wants to drop the contact details in the chat, I'll be sharing it out via email. If anybody doesn't want their contact details shared, let me know the next day, and I'll make a point to keep it private. Then it looks like Jared, you're up next. Jared actually is another tech immigration lawyer guy. So it's really fascinating what he's built. He's built a bot that helps qualify people or people looking for immigration help. Yeah, Jared, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us kind of what you're about and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey, Ian, thanks for inviting me. I always enjoy seeing this, and good to see plenty of friends on this call as well. I'm a Baltimore immigration attorney. My firm focuses primarily on Central Americans. #1 case type is special immigrant and juvenile status. Like Ian said, I also make chatbots for other immigration attorneys. My bots are bilingual. They're on 3 channels right now: Facebook, WhatsApp, and SMS. We're hoping to be on Instagram and Google My Business in the next 2 months, adding 5 channels there. And I think our specialty really is helping lawyers that are having high volumes, like someone like Julio, who's live, and it's 500 people want to talk to him at the same time. You just literally cannot staff that. There's no way to flex that many people up to be able to answer that many questions at the same time. And that's really where AI does a really cool job. So thanks for having me, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to have you on. And it looks like next we got John Kasravi, who's John actually owns a cool company, Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. I was lucky enough to write an article for them in their last edition. So I think it's if you want to read a virtual magazine about immigration things, I think it's what Immigration Lawyers Toolbox -magazine, John.
And one of my readers just texted right now. She says she signed up for your program, Immigration Finder. So
one of them did. I was going to tell you that. That was great stuff.
So yeah, I'm an immigration attorney practicing more than 10 years. Taught at Pepperdine Law School and Loyola Law School. Really into immigration law. Have a podcast for 5-6 years now. And I just started the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. So I've had the Immigration Toolbox, a training program for marketing and law, more just into education now, but also just published the first trade magazine for immigration lawyers. And so we just got to get the information out there, promote experts in the field and vendors that are helping as well. Paul was kind enough as well, Paul Monson, on a journey to support the magazine. And Jared wrote articles. We have the team here. I appreciate everyone who helped. It's been a hit. I was expecting 1,000 or 2,000 people to read it, but it's going much higher. People are spending. The good thing about digital is you can see how long people have it open and how long they're reading each one, and it's working. So it's been a success. So I'm really proud and happy about that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed reading it. You put a lot of work into that too. It's really amazing.
It was much more than I expected.
yeah, it was. It does seem to stack up, and I know, for a lot of people working on their firms, it does. The work really adds up. It's really amazing what people accomplish. Well, I think just obviously these calls are kind of meant to be kind of loose, where people can just kind of share what they want to share. But I guess kind of some common questions. And one thing I was looking forward to having Jesse on here is the last one we had, we talked a lot about video marketing, but I know a lot of people maybe don't have time for that, or it's maybe not it's maybe not the best thing. But I know, Jesse, if you can kind of speak to how someone can make content that isn't video to maybe grow their brand. And then maybe after that, we'll kind of talk about how the social media stuff works, because it's a lot easier to delegate writing than it is to delegate, filming yourself.
Yeah, sure. No problem. So obviously, like you said, it's to produce content in general is time consuming. It just takes a lot of time. And when you talk about maybe building the authority of your firm, you got to be publishing maybe a blog, or maybe guest posting on other websites, and trying to get as much exposure as you can, right? So it's good to have in mind what type of keywords that you want to target. Like, for example, if someone is talking about a certain trendy topic in immigration law that you're going to keep getting a lot of questions about, maybe you can get in front of it and produce a blog post on it. So that people are going to be Googling for that, and then maybe they'll find your blog, they'll find your website, and then maybe they can, book a consultation or something. So really, you have to take in mind what I recommend is, produce content, but have a little bit of strategy in it, so you can drive the traffic or the people that you want to that blog post or to your website, and then hopefully, they'll end up contacting you, and who knows, maybe become a client.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to do it. Then I think at kind of the things here, how many people have a blog on their websites? Okay, so yeah, okay. So a few, it definitely is helpful. We've noticed it being really helpful to use these kind of content pieces before they actually get you clients. You can use them as sales supplementation tools. And I think, I think John, Franco, Julio, we've talked about that a bunch. Is just those kind of those things. And then you guys produce videos and everything like crazy, but how is everybody really promoting their business and bringing people into their companies right now?
All right, I'll go.
All right, thanks, Connie. Go for it.
You guys are all shy. All right. So we still get referrals, obviously, but you can't always rely on referrals. And what we have found is that because of COVID, not all of us being out there, not networking as much, networking on Zoom is not the same thing as networking in person. We have been lucky that we were able to replace some of those referrals with referrals from other practice areas who are very comfortable in the internet realm, right? But we have to supplement, and we are supplementing with obviously online marketing. So we do Facebook ads, we do Google ads, Google PPC, and we also do, like Julio does. He's the master of it. I'm nowhere, okay? But TikTok, okay? And we do get leads from TikTok. And then the issue becomes, okay, so you have a marketing issue, then you have a sales issue, then you have a production issue, because you are getting the leads, somebody needs to qualify them. And this is where Jared's chatbot comes in really good, because it can really sort through the noise, so to speak, and really get you the most qualified clients. So you get the right client at the right time with the right problem. And so we get through that, and then the leads depend on where they come from. So we have the Facebook ads, we have the TikToks. Of course, we do the blogs, we do the content, we do the YouTubes, we do all that. And some months one is better than others, and then it switches, and it is what it is. But marketing was my biggest issue. Right now it's my sales that's biggest issue, and then it's going to be production, and it never ends. So it's back and forth all the time. I know, I think Franco is laughing. He's probably relating to this. But yes, that's what
I am.
we do.
Yeah.
We get them from anywhere. But I have a question for Jesse, if he's willing to answer it. And I probably it applies to all of us. We all have some sort of internet presence. And it's one thing that always puzzles me is what is generally for immigration attorneys, immigration law firms, what is an appropriate domain authority and how can we improve on that?
So depending on where you want to rank, for example, you mentioned Google Ads. So Google Ads, of course, are good for an immediate result, right? But you have to pay for each click. So that can get expensive quite fast. Now with a search engine optimization, which is what we call just SEO, you want to try to rank on that first page of Google, and then you will get all that traffic organically for free. So really, you're not limited, right? So as far as the domain, what I would start is seeing where you currently rank, what terms you currently want to target. And then from there, we would look at your competitors. And what I mean by competitors is look at the first page of Google and maybe the top 5 firms and see what they're doing and see how much is that gap between you and what would be the effort and the resources needed to bridge that gap so you can, ultimately rank on that first page and maybe overcome them. So SEO is the long game. Like you said, PPC, that's immediate. SEO is more the long game. It could be maybe a good investment in the long run because, like I said, once you're there, you're not paying for a click anymore and you're just benefiting from all that. But it just depends on the area or the keyword that you want to rank. Like, for example, if there's a smaller market, like maybe San Antonio, that's where I'm in Texas, it might not be as competitive as maybe Houston, Texas, so it just really depends on the keyword that you want to target and how competitive it is. And based on that, you can have an idea of how much effort and maybe a time frame and all that. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question?
It did. It's just you go to all these tools and tell you all your domain authority is this. Maybe you can improve it by this, but I don't see the advantage because I don't know what my competition has, or even if it's worth it if we are targeting the same market. If I'm not targeting the same market, what difference does it make? I don't care where they appear.
Yeah, no, with SEO, we're primarily just talking about a certain keyword and the results you get in Google, the search term. So for example, if someone types in immigration lawyer Houston, that's the keyword you're targeting. And if someone types that into Google, whoever appears in that first page, those are the the competition that I was speaking to you about. So for example, there are tools that we use that can tell us how much search volume each term has per month. So I know last week I had a meeting with someone from Houston, and they were close to 3,000 searches per month for immigration lawyer Houston. Now that's an exact term, but there's other variations of term. For example, immigration lawyer Houston is one, immigration lawyer Houston, Texas is another one, and variations of those also add up. Out of 3,000 people, based on my experience, we usually see around maybe 10 to 20% of those people clicking on a website that's on the first page. So let's just say 3,000, that's 300 people that might click on a website that's on the first page, right? And out of that, usually 3 to 4% can convert into clients. So we're talking about around 10 maybe or so. I'm not great at math. So off the top of my head, I think it's around 10 or so. So if you think about it, how much does each client, worth to you, and if 10 makes a big difference, then, maybe it's worth, investing in SEO and try to rank organically for that. But then, like you said, there are other terms that is a completely different ballgame because you have to put all this effort into just this one term. And then building your authority and for Google means, having your website optimized for that keyword. It has to load fast. It has to have a good structure. It has to have relevant information, and it has to be updated, pretty often. And that's where like the blogs and all that comes into play. And then also you have to find opportunities to post on other websites that are also relevant to your industry and that are high authority to link back to your website. So you may be publishing articles on different websites that are linking back. And then you have to see if those websites have a lot of traffic, if they're, legitimate websites within the industry, then probably it's a good idea to pitch a guest post. You submit the content to them, and then in exchange for that, they link back to your website. So that's kind of what happens on a monthly basis. And that is the ongoing work that you have to try to do to catch up to whoever's already on the first page.
Thank you, Jesse.
Mm-hmm. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. So we just had another person hop in. Mandy hopped in. She actually owns an interesting company. I was lucky enough to meet her last week.
From my end, my model is a bit different because I do get some B2C, immigrants that contact me directly through word of mouth, etc. But the main source is you guys, immigration attorneys. And so I, of course, have the webpage, I do blogs, SEO, I do Google ads and Instagram. Obviously, as Connie was saying, is kind of the balancing of how much effort you put into it and content to and the time that dedicates. The other channels become interesting is LinkedIn, because that's more B2B. And that's how I met Ian, through LinkedIn. And so that's basically what I do. My question for you is, especially those that are immigration attorneys, when you're looking for a psychologist, or what tips or suggestions you would have for me in order to, let's say, gain access to work with your teams?
Okay, so I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but since I'm an immigration attorney, I am going to answer your question. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, you are in Boca, yes. Okay, or Miami. So if I were to select somebody to do, for example, to help me with a VAWA case or a T visa or a hardship 601 kind of case, okay, my most important consideration is the language, okay? The price is for the client, that's not my consideration. And I need to be able to give to my client 2 to 3 choices, whoever they pick, because I don't want to steer them all to one person, okay? And what's important to me is really the turnaround time and how willing is the psychologist willing to work with me and to make sure we get the right wording in place, because sometimes one single word makes a difference. There are plenty of psychologists out there who will send me a report that is so canned, okay, that they all have the same wording at the end that says, well, this person is going to be suffering hardship if they are going to be removed. Yeah, but I need to prove also that they are going to suffer hardship if the family has to move and if this has to. So I need to prove a lot more. And those are my considerations when I select a psychologist. Frankly, their education, it's irrelevant. To me, what's relevant is their experience and do they really care about my client?
Mm-hmm. Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
I would just add that responsiveness and understanding when the turnaround time is, because we're working with deadlines, and what turns our office off to certain psychologists, psychiatrists, is when we send them a request for an assessment and then we don't hear back for 2 weeks. So if we have good communication, that's super helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, hopefully that was helpful, Gustavo. That's
very useful. Thank you.
Yeah, so I do want to introduce Mandy. Mandy actually owns Argo, or you work for Argo Visa, right? You're a former consular officer, and you own a company that helps people get ready for consular interviews, which I think is a really, really interesting niche to be in. But if you want to introduce yourself, Mandy, kind of tell us what you do, how to get a hold of you if you want to be contacted.
Absolutely. I see some familiar faces and names on here, so it's so nice to see everyone. So as Ian said, my name is Mandy Fierbacher. I am a former consular officer. I'm also an immigration attorney. I practice less now, obviously, because I'm full-time helping run up Argo, get it started. But I did run my own solo immigration practice for a while after I left the government in 2018 and before I joined Argo. So we're the world's first company of former consular officers who have worked at US embassies and consulates all around the world. And we help prepare clients one-on-one for visa interviews. What I have seen recently, you know, because of all of the problems with the previous administration, some of which is just coming to light now, we do help clients with some, you know, crazier issues right now. You know, we've had clients come to us when they've had expedited removals, you know, they've been turned around at the airport. What can they do? They need to get ready for their next visa interviews, which are really important. Our platform, so all of these one-on-one consultations with ex-visa officers are online on our platform. And it's actually fairly intelligent in that it connects clients, hopefully with an officer who has worked in country where there will be applying, if there is one available, to give them the best experience and the most helpful advice. Although I would say that former consular officers, you know, we all have our own, sort of culture. I was trying to explain this to Ian earlier. And, you know, how we look at visa applications, how we interview clients tends to be very similar because it's the culture of the American consular officer, despite being, you know, sent to Brazil or to China or to Mexico. So I myself have worked in China. I worked at the embassy in Beijing for 2 years. Then I worked at the consulate in Matamoros in Mexico for 2 years, and finally did 2 years in Hong Kong. And so I did see a lot of similarities in how we do consular processing. And I think, you know, this has really just been such a black hole for immigration practitioners, and something that we really hope to help, you know, you all shed some light on. And all of us Argo officers are very passionate about our work. So I'm really excited to be a part of the conversation, and thanks for inviting me, Ian.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. I thought that was a really interesting business when we first had the chance to meet. That's awesome. So yeah, well, we've covered a few things just kind of with writing content, video and everything. I guess for the people producing video, this is a question I get from, like, when I tell people I work with Sapuchnik and DGO Legal and Ashuri and these companies, it's a really common question I get where people ask, like, how did these guys make so many videos? And I know we help with it a little bit, but for the most part, it is all you guys. So how do you kind of structure your schedule to make a lot of content for people that are pumping it out, be it blogs, videos, social posts, whatever it is?
All right, I can say something. I don't have a schedule, to be honest. What I try to do is to make it seamless, because sometimes we all know, I don't know, TPS comes up, or public charge rule, whatever. So we need to make a video like right now. So what I try to do is to make it simple. So I don't, because at first I was trying to think the lighting should be perfect, then the script, then the whatever. And that prevents you from filming. So you need to have your, like, at least easy studio there with a microphone if you need it, or lighting, the correct lighting. I'm working on the lighting. I don't have it yet. So that out properly, but it needs to be simple. I've seen videos on TikTok, for instance, that had, I don't know, millions of views, and they're just someone filming inside their car with their kids playing, you know, in the backseat. So it doesn't matter, as long as the content is good and you're providing value to people, you'll get rewarded. I also see a lot of lawyers saying, hey, you can do this, you have to call me, this is my number. I mean, that's a strategy. I try to give content for free, and then people will contact you. If you try to sell yourself, people don't like it that much. So what I can say is try to make it easy. Don't try to be perfect. You're not gonna be perfect. You're gonna, you know, the lighting will be bad. Your hair probably is not the best. Your shirt maybe, you know, it's not cool. It doesn't matter. Just do it and be constant. That's the key for me, to be constant. And I try to make as many as I can, but obviously we're all very busy.
Yeah, no, the tasks definitely add up. And then I think one question I have too is, you know, I'm looking around the room and I know a lot of you are servicing clients in multiple languages. Like I think most of you are servicing clients in, you know, 2-3 different languages in your office, or multiple ones. So how are people effectively managing that, especially when they don't speak all of those languages? Because I know, you know, a few people I know in the room have, you know, a lot of different employees that speak to these different languages. So, like, how are people navigating that effectively in their firms?
I can answer to a certain. We have most of our clients are Spanish speakers, Haitian Creole, some Portuguese, but to be honest, we have not found that to be a significant issue. All of our marketing is in English. We have very little that it's in Spanish and almost none that it's in any other language. We have people in our firm who speak about 7 languages altogether. And yet again, we still have the referrals for the occasional Thai client or somebody who speaks a specific dialect from Indonesia. Okay, so it is difficult. We do encourage them to come with a family member, or now with Zoom, it's even easier because they can have their family member or friend or whatever be present at any given time. And we do almost all of our conversations right now via phone. So if they don't have a family member who can help them, that can translate to the level that we actually need, we give them the option of hiring an interpreter. We do have an interpreting service that we have a contract with, but the client has to pay that bill. And we do charge them in advance for that, like a retainer kind of thing. But we used it probably 3 times the entire last year. So we have not found an issue because there is always a friend or family member or somebody at church or somebody who can translate. It's not an issue.
Okay, yeah, and that's really interesting because that's something I think about a lot because we're getting a lot more requests for, well, Spanish obviously, but I mean, I think Portuguese is, definitely a runner-up. I think that's, it's definitely a solid one. Let's, that's definitely interesting stuff. And then I guess one question I'm kind of wondering from people, and as we're kind of doing the volunteer route, is like, what do people kind of see with the new administration coming in being the biggest changes with immigration, and also how is that going to affect your business? Oh, Jeff, do you want to speak on that, or does anybody have anything they want to add?
I'm interested in any, and I'd love to talk about it. It's so I was talking to a guy yesterday who is very well connected as a Venezuelan. And he's a single attorney with 1 assistant. And he's like, Jared, how could I turn my law firm into something that could do 2,000 to 10,000 Venezuelan TPS applications in the next 2 months? It's like, we were built small. And now we have a chance to make $1 million. Like right now, let's do it. What can we do? And I mean, that to me is sort of the most interesting challenge that all of us are doing. And the problem is for all of us right now, we don't actually know what that thing is going to be because they're kicking around so many different options right now in immigration, in the reform. So, and I think some of us that have been practicing immigration law for a while have had the reverse, where I had, before Trump got elected, I had my factory ready to keep printing. And then, instead of a great opportunity, instead we had to turn a factory into a fort, where we could try to protect ourselves and our clients from a raging psychopath who had taken over the government. And so, being able to do that switch is tough. But I think, to me, what we need to is just really what I've been doing for this guy with the TPS is really digging into that workflow and just listing it out, whether, I know, Ian, you like the sort of flow visualization tools that are out there. And I think those can be good, but you can do it written as well. And really trying to attack it and look at sort of where the bottlenecks are, seeing what you can automate, and then beginning to sort of figure out, can I hire someone that Ian's got? Can I outsource this? Do I need to hire another employee? And then the other thing is sort of being comfortable with knowing that stuff is going to break in kind of catastrophic ways as you try to load a ton of people into something that hasn't done it before, and just watch, sort of realize you're going to have to fix it and have a couple sleepless nights and be okay with that. Because this is really the only way to go from 0 to huge overnight, is to break a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's some of the companies we work with. It's just insane. Once we start working with them, how many things there actually are to help an immigration firm with. So that's good. I did kind of call on you first, Jeff. I didn't know if you wanted to add something or if you're.
Well, yeah, maybe because it has to do with you. So we've decided to streamline, and what that means is when I first started, everyone who was hired kind of became a generalist because we were small. And that was my theory at first. Like, if everyone knows how to do everything, then if someone's away, then someone else can jump in and do that. And it works up until a point. But then when you get to a certain size or things change, then it doesn't work so well anymore. So when COVID hit, system kind of broke. So what we're trying to do now is trying to streamline and give people specific tasks. So someone will oversee certain things like leads. And that's why I mentioned Ian, because now we're focused on having one person, take a look at our leads and really develop that single process so that someone's in charge of it and no one else is touching it until we get it perfect. And maybe we won't have to have anyone else touch it. Maybe that one person can do it forever. So yeah, streamlining.
Yeah, at least, from my perspective, like where I learned a lot of the automation stuff was from other industries. That just, it just happened to work when I got an immigration law client, which was, that is one thing I encourage for people is if you want to research what's kind of working in other places. Like I think, Jesse, you've probably been doing SEO just before the immigration space, and it just, you happen to get into that niche. Like Marco, you told me your story of actually kind of getting into the business plan side of things. It was really interesting. But I guess, so that's kind of some of like, the family VAWA side of things. But for people that are involved in like the business immigration side of it, like what kind of changes do you see happening with like a new administration coming in? Because I know a lot of these work visa laws are going to change, which I know is definitely probably going to affect Rebecca. More people are going to want to be doing, professional interviews. And I know Argo visa as well will probably be a teeny bit busier.
Well, I think, for my team, we're definitely expecting it to shape up to be a really great year. There's already a lot of conversations going on between me and my State Department colleagues about how the State Department just has much more of a direct line to the White House. And so I think that State Department issues will definitely be prioritized. Whereas before, as you all know, the Trump administration was really claiming that the State Department was sort of out to get him, and he was sort of sidelined everybody and kind of just ignored them. So hopefully what we'll see with that is, more priority for embassy and consulates reopening around the world in a very systematic manner. We will also see that, I do believe that the White House really sets the tone for immigration. So as much as I would like to say that consular work has been the same, throughout the Trump administration to now and even before, I would say that consular officers were actually more stringent during Trump because the protocols and the instructions actually come from up high. So it really trickles down from the Secretary of State down to each individual post and consular managers telling their consular officers what to do at their weekly meetings, how we're going to kind of take a harder look at certain cases. Maybe we were letting certain things slide before. Now we have to be much more proactive in covering our own butts in, making these decisions. And I do think that we'll see a reversal of that. But I think some of the issues that came from the Trump administration is only going to come to light now because there is such a backlog and there is so much sort of stuck in the pipeline at state. So we will see. And I think, consular affairs is really struggling right now at the State Department. They are a mostly self-funded agency under State Department. They're incredibly powerful because they really get their funding from, machine readable visas. So visa interviews and that $160 that your clients spend every single time they go in for their, 2 to 3 minute interview. And since there hasn't been interviews over the past year, it's become a big issue over at CA. And I know for a while they were thinking about laying people off, but then they know that the work is there, it's just on pause. So it really puts them in this dilemma. So I think, we'll really see how it all shakes out. But I think it really starts with embassies and consulates reopening, and with the vaccine rollouts around the world, hopefully that will happen sooner rather than later. So I'm really excited and looking forward to what'll come this year.
Yeah, Mandy, I'm sorry, Mandy, what do you see in terms of backlogs generally in the consulate that have been closed for about a year, in terms of their priorities and catching up?
Yeah. So I think that their priority probably for the spring and summer is going to be student visa applicants. We've already seen that announcement by the State Department. I think this was a couple weeks ago about how student visa applicants will be able to get, the national interest exceptions. They'll be able to get their interviews. And this was always the case at the State Department, even before the pandemic. We tended to reserve time slots and set aside appointment times in the spring and summer leading up to the rush of students coming in. And I'm sure that the universities are putting pressure on on the government as well, because they really, derive a lot of their funding from international students coming over. So we'll see that. I think the second thing that may be prioritized, and hopefully it will be, is there's been a lot of publicity around this immigrant visa backlog of 380,000 visas that haven't been adjudicated. It's just stuck at state. And I do think that the State Department cares about its image, and it's probably going to have to find a way to resolve that. So far we haven't heard of any concrete plans. With the government, it's like, if they don't do something, it's not like you can just go to another company. They're not a private enterprise. So it's a little bit different in that way. But I'm really excited about the leadership that is heading up the State Department. I've heard a lot of great things about Tony Blinken and just how engaged he is, even with the senior foreign service officers. Whereas, with the Trump administration, most of the senior officials at the State Department were just getting sidelined. So I think we can expect things to start moving again. It's just we're still on the cusp of this very strange time where we're waiting for, the aftermath of the vaccines coming in and traveling slowly restarting. So this is, I guess, how sausage gets made. It's going to be kind of weird for a while, unfortunately.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that is a really interesting area to be in, because I know a number of the firms I work with, they don't even really want to take on cases with the consulate either, just because there is so much uncertainty.
Yeah.
So yeah, Marco, have you noticed a change in any kind of the business immigration side of things since Biden came in?
Well, I would say more optimism coming from investors. That's basically it. So yes, we've seen an uptick in demand for certain types of business plans.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's awesome what you do is you have an entirely different angle of helping immigrants. It's I think a lot of people find creative ways to help these people. And I don't know, Paul, if you've noticed a change in any of the business side of immigration things.
It's no matter what, the US is still very attractive. So, of course, immigrants are reacting to Trump, the Trump administration, in a negative way, of course. They are now reacting with Biden being more optimistic with visa applications. But again, when you look today, what's going on in the world, maybe except Asia, the situation is not very good. When you look at the US economically, we are doing better than probably most of the rest of the world. So we are seeing a lot of immigrants coming to the US for sure on business visa. They are seeing the energy in the US that they are not seeing in the rest of the world. And that's obviously very positive for everyone that's participating. I'm sure immigration lawyers have seen as well an uptick in visa application and request to how they could come to the US. But for now, yeah, for sure, the US is very attractive compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah, no, for some people, the pandemic's been really good for business too. So it's it definitely is thriving in a lot of ways. And then Robert, have you noticed any changes with business immigration since Biden came into play?
No, I haven't really noticed a lot of changes. I have noticed that I'm getting some more interest in the business visas, e-visas, which I focus on, and L's to a certain extent. I'm remaining optimistic and encouraged, especially based on what he had just said. Relatively, our economy is still quite attractive. So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind and just keep, plodding on and going forward as much as possible. And I hope to see some more concrete results as we get into the middle of the year when prospective clients and other people seeking immigration are going to be a little bit more confident in planning their travels and their plans to come to the US. So that's what I'm looking at, sort of, June is supposed to be the highlight, a milestone in my book. Hopefully it will pan out. I'm a bit confident.
Yeah, personally, I'm looking forward to just travel a bit more freely when I'm
well, you know me.
Yeah.
It's been over a year.
Yeah, you've been all over the place.
My last stop.
Yeah, it was definitely good stuff. Well, awesome, guys. Well, it's been a great past bit with everybody. We're really glad everybody had a chance to hop on. So it's definitely a solid meeting. I do host these roughly every month or so. So what I'm going to do with the recording of this is that we'll post it and I'll email it out to everybody. I am going to add you to my email list to do that. So I'm not individually emailing them. If you do want to unsubscribe, just feel free to unsubscribe. Not a big deal if you don't want to get those. It's the easiest way to share it. And if you do want to stay on there, you definitely can. There's, I think as far as it goes, I think these are definitely helpful meetings and everything. But I'm really curious, what was the biggest thing people learned from this today?
I think there were many, interesting topics, at least from my end, not just, directly related to my trade, but like the video production, the different efforts people make, et cetera, the trends that are happening. So altogether, I mean, it's really relevant in the industry and from a marketing perspective. So I appreciate the opportunity to participate.
Yeah, no problem. And I think everybody has such unique skills to bring to the table. Because also, I mean, how long does it take to start a big business or a law firm? I mean, you all had prior experiences to that. You brought into that. I mean, I know, Julio, you did that. I mean, Rebecca, you have a long history in fashion and also working with the government. I know, Mandy, you've been with consular affairs. I mean, I think, Paul, Marco, you're both in kind of the other area of helping immigrants, which I think is really, really fascinating. So it's, just super interesting. And Jesse, I know you're doing SEO and having a chance to help people. It's like Jared hopped off. Well, it was definitely great having everyone on here. So video recording will be shared out. You'll probably see some of these on split up and then chopped up and added to LinkedIn a little bit as well. If anybody has any questions for me, by all means, feel free to reach out. Then I do want to give a shout out to Jesse for hopping on. Thank you for sharing all that. He does kind of help the immigration industry in other ways as well. Rebecca does kind of help lawyers look good with getting virtual clothing and everything, and she can size people remotely if you want that. I know Dr. Benajam, Gustavo down there, he does a lot of the psychology interviews, and I think you can only do those in the state of Florida, right, Gustavo?
You have to be licensed where you do it. So I could do it anywhere in Florida, but if not, you go to another state, you need a psychologist who's licensed there.
Okay. Yeah, and that was definitely interesting to learn too, because I actually didn't know that until I spoke to you last week. So if anybody wants to contact each other, feel free to let me know. I will be sharing these contact details out in kind of the recap email. If you don't want your details shared out, it's totally fine. Just let me know in the next day or so. Otherwise, I'm just going to put people's just email, website, and their name there so people can get in touch with each other. If you guys need anything at all, it's always feel free to reach out to me. It's been great getting to know you all over the last hour, and also I think in the last year, I've met almost, pretty much all of you. So it's really been a pleasure. So I'll let you guys get going now. I know we're all busy people. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
See you.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys.